What is going on, college basketball fans? Welcome back to another video, and today we got our Week 3 Dannyology Power 35. A lot of changes after the first week of Feast Week. We got Week 2 of Feast Week this week. Super excited, a lot of good games. A lot of changes will be made over the course of the season, and especially after this week. But this is what we got for the start of Week 3. Let's get right into it. All right, Week 3 Dannyology poll. This is what we got. Give you guys everything. Let's break it down. So, top 4 teams stay the same. Auburn, Gonzaga, UConn, Kansas, all, staying where they were. Not much that they did this week to really go up or down. As far as Auburn, they can't go up any higher. They were my number 1 last week. They are still my number 1. They got a huge test this week. Actually, today against Iowa State and really the entire Maui Invitational is a very tough field, so Auburn is going to have their test. UConn at number 3 is in that same tournament. Gonzaga is in the Battle for Atlantis tournament. Their first game is against West Virginia on Wednesday, so they will have a test with that tournament as well. And Kansas got their own test, not in a tournament, but against the Duke Blue Devils this week. I think actually tomorrow on Tuesday. So, yeah, all 4 of these teams will be tested this week. We will get to see them go against some high-level competition. But for now, they just didn't face that last week, and they're all staying 1, 2, 3, and 4 for this upcoming week. Tennessee is our first big mover of this week, and they jump all the way from number 13 to number 5. 2 big wins this weekend. They won their little tournament. They beat Virginia, and then they beat Baylor. That man, Chaz Lehner, is a problem. Transferred from North Florida. He was averaging almost 20 a game last year for the Ospreys, and now he is looking to do that again at Tennessee. He actually scored all 25 of his points in the first half against Baylor. Very impressive performance. Baylor looking like they still have those defensive issues that they need to get together. But yeah, Tennessee looking really good. Not only did they beat Virginia handily, beat Baylor handily, they beat Louisville handily already this year. Looking really good. They deserve a top 5 spot. Other big jumper, we got Marquette jumping from number 12 all the way up here to number 6. Some big wins. They beat Purdue this week, and then they also beat Georgia, which turned out to be an even more impressive win after Georgia went on to defeat St. John's later in the week. Marquette looking really good. I think Cam Jones might be the best player in college basketball. He's definitely top 3. He might be number 1. Kentucky doesn't move this week. Didn't have play anybody significant this week, but still have that awesome win over Duke, keeping them up here at number 7. Number 8, we do have North Carolina jumping up 1 spot. They didn't really do much special. They did beat Hawaii. They are another team that is in that Maui Invitational in that stacked field, so we'll see them go up against some more high-level competition. The only real good team that they faced so far was Kansas, and that was on a true road game in the toughest place to play in college basketball, Allen Fieldhouse, and they were able to keep that one very close. So I was actually very impressed with them in that game. And number 8, they are jumping up 1 spot. Alabama also jumping up 1 spot here after taking down Illinois in impressive fashion, putting up 100 points on them. And their best player, Mark Sears, did not score a single point. So that just goes to show I really do think Nate Oates has something built here with this Alabama program. And it's possible, with Alabama losing to Oklahoma in football, Bama might become a basketball school very soon. Nick Saban retiring. Nate Oates is been the guy in the university on campus there that is really building something, and yeah, he's doing something great. I think they're going to be fine even after Mark Sears leaves. I think Nate Oates has something really going, and they are consistently one of the better offenses in college basketball over the past few years under Nate Oates. Number 10, we do have the Duke Blue Devils jumping up 1 spot. I really wanted to jump them up higher after winning a true road game against Arizona. I thought that was very impressive, the way that they came in and controlled that entire game. Cooper Flagg, I think he had his best game of the season against Arizona this past week, and yeah, Duke's looking really good. I wanted to put them higher, but there are so many teams towards the top right now that I just couldn't do it. But some of these teams will lose. They're going to be playing in these big stacked fielded tournaments. And Duke has a chance to knock off number 4 this week when they face number 4 Kansas. So that is going to be huge. If Duke can win that, they will easily be a top 5 team, even with the loss to Kentucky. Number 11, we do have Iowa State. And we'll go ahead and talk about Iowa State and Houston back-to-back here at 11 and 12 because they're both dropping 6 spots for the same reason. And that's just because the teams had to be pushed above them this week because they have proven themselves, whereas Iowa State has faced nobody good yet. Houston has only faced one good team so far, and that is Auburn, and they lost. So they're unproven teams. No doubt in my mind they are going to prove it, whether it is this week or in the near future when they do have those opportunities. They just haven't had those opportunities. But Duke has solid wins. That solid win against Arizona. They had to go above Iowa State and Houston at this point. Alabama, got a good win against Illinois now. They had to go above in impressive fashion as well. They look like a top 10 team. They need to be there. North Carolina, They got to be up there. Kentucky, Marquette, Tennessee, all these teams speak for themselves. They had to be above Houston and Iowa State for this week, which is why they had to drop, even though they didn't take a loss this week, they had to drop below some of these other teams for now. But when Iowa State and Houston do get those opportunities and they do prove themselves, and we got more of a scale of how good these teams are, they could easily jump back into the top 10 as early as next week. Purdue here at 13, and I know what Purdue fans are thinking. Why the hell are we below Alabama whenever we beat Alabama? Well, I'll tell you, you guys were above Alabama after you beat Alabama in last week's ranking. As you can see, you dropped 5 spots. Alabama jumped 1 spot. So if you look at last week's rankings, Purdue was above Alabama for that win. But it was in Mackey. That is a very tough place to play. One of the toughest places to play in college basketball. And true road games are very hard, especially in the non-con early in the season. I'm not making excuses for Alabama, but when Purdue goes into Marquette, they found that out themselves as they did lose to Marquette. And Alabama with an impressive win over Illinois. Right now, Alabama looks like a top 10 team, and I'm not saying Purdue isn't a top 10 team, but at this point, I got to keep them just out on the outside. There's no way I can say right now Purdue is a better team than Alabama in this year's basketball. Wisconsin at number 14. They're jumping up 7 spots. One of the more impressive jumpers this week. They've looked awesome. They did win the Greenbrier Resort Tournament with 2 impressive wins over Central Florida and over Pitt. That game against Pitt was a very good one. John Tunji just was unstoppable in that game at points. They started shooting the ball very well, and their defense looked really good as well. So Wisconsin, very, very impressive. They're jumping up 7 spots from number 21 up to number 14. Indiana staying in the same spot, untested team so far, and wins against these quad 4 level teams do not raise your team any higher unless teams fall below you. Xavier jumps up 1 spot. No real impressive wins this week, but I do think Xavier is a very good team. They're still undefeated, kind of similar to Indiana. But they do jump up 1 spot because Baylor had to fall a little bit. And Baylor at 17 right up next. They did drop 1 spot, and they did take a loss to Tennessee pretty bad. That was the second time that they got waxed. They got beat up. Stuffed like a turkey on feast week. That's the second time that happened this year. Once to Gonzaga, once to Tennessee. Granted, those are really good teams, but they also almost lost to St. John's. It took a heroic effort in overtime from VJ Edgecombe at first, and then it was Jeremy Roach with the buzzer beater for the win, and 2 missed free throws from Zuby Ejiofor for St. John's. It was a tough week for St. John's, but they really probably should have lost that game, but that was just an insane game. It was a really, really good game. Probably my favorite of the weekend, favorite of the year so far. But Baylor had to drop one spot, going 1-1 this week. Arkansas jumps up one spot. Didn't really do anything too special this week. Only loss is to Baylor so far. Still look like a really good team. Boogie Flammed looks like he's a superstar. Super excited to continue to watch him play. Also, Adu Thero, also playing outstanding for Arkansas. Cincinnati at number 19, jumping up one spot, similar to teams like Xavier, Indiana. Really similar to like Indiana, mainly as they just haven't played anybody. Xavier has played one pretty good team in Wake Forest, but it was a true home game for them. But yeah, Cincinnati staying around the same, jumps from number 20 to number 19. Georgia, big time jumper. They did go 1-1 this week, but their one loss was to Marquette. And then their win was against St. John's. So I think St. John's is a really good team. I think Marquette's a really good team. So for them to go and beat St. John's neutral court, very impressive to me. They were on my teams to watch last week, which is why you see they're jumping up 18 spots, where that would be higher than 35. They were on my teams to watch. They were the third team down on the teams to watch. So they're jumping up technically 18 spots. Technically, I had them around 38 last week. And I needed them to prove themselves to make the rankings. And even though they went 1-1 against two really good teams, the fact that they won one of those games and it was against St. John's really impressed me. So they are jumping up 18 spots up here to number 20. Drake at 21. How about the Drake Bulldogs, man? They look amazing, and they are a super well-coached team, bringing in the former head coach of, Southeast Missouri State, who won so many division championships, bringing his Division II guys with him, and they win the Charleston Classic, beating Vanderbilt, Seton Hall, and Miami. Miami doesn't look really good. Seton Hall has good defense, but they are not that great. But then they beat Vandy as well, undefeated, Charleston Classic champions. They deserve to be here at number 21. And I'll just say this for Drake, going from Tucker DeVries to now Bennett Sturts is like when the Green Bay Packers went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. They're just, wow. The fact that they made that transition that fast, already have another cold dude, just insane. But Drake definitely deserves to be ranked, and they're up here at number 21 now. Number 22, we do have the Florida Gators. I couldn't move the Florida Gators much just because, I don't want Todd Golden to hunt me down, stalk me, or anything like that. But they are undefeated up to this point. I can't wait for Florida to get tested, but they're here at number 22, staying where they were last week. Number 23, we do have Pitt. And Pitt, although they did go 1-1 in the Charleston Classic, they look really good. And I was present for the game against West Virginia, where they just absolutely embarrassed and pushed West Virginia off their home court from the straight beginning. They look really good. They got a lot of really good guards. The one guard got hurt, Damian Dunn, who is a really good scorer. He didn't have a big week in the Greenbrier tournament, but he is a really good scorer. I saw that firsthand against West Virginia, and I do really like this team. Jalen Lowe is one of the best kept secrets in college basketball. And you guys know I hate Pitt, but I have to respect them. They look like a serious contender for the Sweet 16 or possibly even further. Number 24, we do have St. John's. They got to drop 10 spots this week. 2 losses. They did get a win against Virginia this week, but 2 losses against Baylor and also Georgia. So they had to drop 10 spots. I am keeping them in my top 25, though. I think they're my only 2-loss team in the entire top 35. But I am keeping them in here at 24 because the teams that they did lose to are really good, and they also just look like a really good team. Like, you can tell just by watching them play. They are going to be a force. They are going to bounce back. Although if they do take another loss this week, no matter who it's to, they have to fall out of the rankings completely. That is just how it's going to have to work. So I'm giving them a little bit, of lenience here by keeping them in the rankings, but they're on thin ice right now. Number 25, we got St. Mary's jumping up 9 spots. That win against Nebraska on the road looks a lot better now than it did a couple days ago, because now Nebraska went in and beat Creighton on the road in Omaha in that rivalry game. So St. Mary's, that win looks even better now. They're undefeated. They're up 9 spots at number 25. Number 26, 27, 28, 29, all staying the same. Nothing really that impressive for any of these teams. But guess what? I believe Texas A&M and Oregon face off either today or tomorrow. Number 26 and my number 27 facing off against each other. That is going to be very fun to watch. But all these teams staying where they were last year. I feel like all these teams are going to stay around the 20 to 30 range most of the season. They all feel like 6 to 8 seeds in the NCAA tournament. And they're here at 26 through 29. Number 30, we do have Vanderbilt. Put on a very impressive performance in the Charleston Classic. Made it all the way to the championship game and did lose to Drake. But impressive wins. The most impressive win to me was that first one against Nevada. I was very impressed with that one. And then going on and beating, I believe, VCU, was it? But Vanderbilt looking very good. And I think they were close to my teams to watch last week. But now that they were tested a little bit, they're here at number 30. Number 31, we got BYU, still untested at this point, but looked like a really good sleeper in the Big 12 Conference. They're staying here at number 31. Number 32, we got Memphis jumping up 3 spots after a very good win against San Francisco. The Dons are a very good team. That was a close game, but Memphis got it done, and now they head in, jumping up 3 spots, head into the stacked Maui, which we already mentioned, UConn, Auburn, North Carolina is in that tournament, and who we're about to talk about, Dayton. Stacked field. Memphis heads into that after a win against San Francisco. Number 33, jumping up 4 spots from the teams to watch into the rankings, Mississippi State. And they beat SMU this week. But, SMU not that great of a basketball team this year. Mississippi State is, though. And still somewhat untested, but Josh Hubbard is a superstar. Another one of those best-kept secrets in college basketball. Josh Hubbard, he's insane. Very good player as a sophomore. 34, Wake Forest stays the same. And 35, we have Dayton jumping in as our A10 representative. Last week we had VCU. VCU took a couple of L's in the Charleston Classic. They had to fall out of the rankings, but Dayton jumps in undefeated at this point in the season. Teams to watch, Arizona took another loss at home to Duke, just got beat bad at home. If it was a little closer, they could have kept in the rankings, and it was somewhat close, but that's now 2 losses for Arizona, where Caleb Love has completely disappeared. And that was against Wisconsin on the road, and that was against Duke at home. Guys, I don't know. Is Caleb Love okay? Somebody check on him. Let me know. But we'll see if Arizona can bounce back. It's going to be, their schedule's not going to get much easier when they get into conference play. They're in the Big 12 now, so we'll see if they can bounce back. I'm sure they will get back into the rankings. How high is yet to be determined as we watch them play more. Creighton had to fall out. Horrible loss at home. I think it's the second straight time they last lost in Omaha to Nebraska at home. Tough. Creighton's going to have to bounce back to earn a spot back into the rankings. Illinois, tough loss to Alabama. I debated keeping them in the rankings because, I do think Alabama is a really good team. But they're going to have to prove it to me first. They have no, quad 1. Definitely not. I don't even know if they have a quad 2 win yet. So, Illinois is going to have to prove it to me first. Rhode Island, another one of those A10 teams. They almost got in over Dayton, honestly, but I decided to put Dayton in because they have a more proven roster. But Rhode Island, undefeated, and they just destroyed, actually, the College of Charleston, who has been consistently one of the better mid-majors over the past few years. I know they lost Pat Kelsey, their coach, over the past few years to Louisville, but Charleston has still been playing some really good basketball against teams like FAU, in a thriller. And for Rhode Island to beat them, and not only beat them, but dominate, very impressive. Rhode Island's undefeated. Look out. Providence, they're a spot below Rhode Island in the state of Rhode Island. Pretty crazy, but I decided to put them on the teams to watch, mainly because, they are undefeated. They haven't played anybody but Cupcakes, but mainly because it would be funny to stick them and Rhode Island right in there beside each other and putting Rhode Island above Providence. Wichita State deserves a spot here in the teams to watch. They are one more really good week away from cracking the Dannyology 35. Look out for the Shockers. They are back. And then Texas Tech, they took a tough loss to St. Joe's. St. Joseph's actually looks really good. Another really good team in the Atlantic 10 Conference, which may be, guys, I don't know if I want to say this, the A10 might be the new best mid-major conference in college basketball this year. They might have surpassed not only the American, but also the Mountain West as well. So that would be pretty crazy. The Mountain West is still really good. I actually skipped Nevada, who is in the Mountain West there, in the teams to watch. They got Nevada, New Mexico, San Diego State's always going to be tough. Boise. Mountain West is still really good, but the A10's pretty stacked this year, guys. And look out for some of these teams. That is going to do it for this week's Week 3 Dannyology Power 35 rankings. Let me know who should be higher, who should be lower, who got snubbed, all that good stuff down below in the comment section. Subscribe if you guys are new. We got a ton more college basketball content coming your way. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.